evening and welcome to the March 19th meeting of the Lake Forest City Council. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Honorable James Cowhey.
Here.
Alderman Novit.
Here.
Alderman Waldeck. Here. Alderman Moore, absent. Alderman Pandaleon, absent. Alderman Morsch.
Here.
Alderman Schoenheider.
Here.
Alderman Palmer.
Here.
Alderman Adelman.
Here.
7 present, 2 absent. Mr. Mayor, we have a quorum.
Thank you, Bertie. Will you please join me in a pledge of allegiance? I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Our first order of business this evening is reports of city officers, the first being comments by mayor. And I am pleased to report this evening that I have 4 wonderful employees from the city of Lake Forest that I would like to read and present resolutions of appreciation to. The first is certainly one of our outstanding, not that the rest aren't as well, but you certainly are as all. First being Kathy Reinertsen, and I would like to read this resolution into the record and present this to Kathy and her family. Whereas Kathy M. Reinertsen has been a dedicated employee of the City of Lake Forest since February 1st, 2003. Whereas Kathy Reinertsen will honorably retire from the city on April 11, 2012. Whereas Kathy Reinertsen served in the position of Finance Director during her dedicated career from February 1, 2003 to January 1, 2011, and Director of Finance and Information Technology from January 1, 2011 to April 11, 2012. And whereas Kathy Reinertsen expertly navigated the city of Lake Forest through a severe economic downturn, introducing an environment of a new normal while maintaining the city's prestigious AAA bond rating and certification of conformance with the audit, as well as saving the community $1.5 million in bond refunding. And whereas Kathy Reinertsen, recognizing sizable financial benefits available under new state pension rules, was instrumental in implementing the IMRF early retirement program for eligible employees, saving the city over $700,000 per year. Whereas Kathy Reinertsen, being light of heart and sound of mind, I'm only reading it. I didn't write that one.
That was my
She is sound of mind.
She is sound of mind. Plus, possessing a great love of chocolate, directed the finance IT departments with unequaled fiscal excellence and with a great sense of empathy and humor, naturally spread her infectious good personality upon hundreds of city employees and the city council. Now therefore be it resolved by the city council of the city of Lake Forest that the council, on behalf of the administration and residents of the community, hereby expresses its appreciation and gratitude to Kathy Reinertsen for a public service faithfully performed. And be it further resolved that the city clerk be and hereby is instructed to deliver a copy of this resolution duly signed by the mayor to Kathy Reinertsen this 19th day of March, 2012. And I will say, Kathy, this is only, I think because we ran out of paper on one page to really list all your attributes, but you've done a fantastic job for us, certainly guiding us through the whole IMRF early retirement program, but the whole budget over these tough times, and then obviously all your good heart and your good humor and your ability to work with each and every one of us, which I can tell you, I'm an easy one to work with. The rest of these guys, it ain't that easy. But you've done an outstanding job, and I think others probably want to jump in here as well before I present this to you, so I'll give them that opportunity. If anybody else wants to, please do.
I'll move to adopt the resolution.
Well, we always forget that, but yes, we should do that.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Kathy, you've been fabulous. You know, this is kind of my business, the business that you do, and I have to say that of all the people I see around the country and serving in similar jobs, you are absolutely outstanding at what you've done. So really, thank you very, very much for everything. It's been really a pleasure to work with you. We'll miss you, but we know you're off to new and fun challenges in South America. So really exciting.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Thank you.
And Kathy, you know, for the sake of it, the level of appreciation that's received by you can't come close to what you've contributed to the city in the time you've been here. I'm amazed by the time span that you've worked here, the difficult times with the economy, and you almost make it look easy. You're under control, and you've brought us through really a horrible time for the nation. It's fantastic. And again, the appreciation you'll receive from everyone doesn't come close to what you've contributed. It's just, thank you very much. On behalf of the city, but on behalf of myself, you're an example to all of us.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
I was gonna say, you were absolutely the right person in the right place at the right time. And kind of like Patton in the middle of the war. This was a time made for your talents.
Thank you.
So I will present this to you, Kathy.
Oh, wait a minute. For the record, Kathy is going to Ecuador with all the city funds.
Right. I'll be a billionaire there. I'm usually up here with all kinds of papers prepared to talk to you. I don't have anything with me, but I do want to say I want to thank Mr. Mayor and City Council. You've been great to work for, very supportive, given me a lot of opportunity for growth. Same for Bob. He's been tough, but a good guy. I appreciate all you've done, Bob. And most of all, my staff, who I have to say, never could I have done anything without them. They're probably the best staff you could find in the entire world, and I appreciate all the hard work that you've put in. And lastly, my husband, who I never would have got through all of this without him. So thank you very much.
Next, I have another resolution of appreciation for Wendy Frazier for 6 years of service, and I'd like to read that into the record as well, and have Wendy come on up. Whereas Wendy Frazier has been a dedicated employee of the City of Lake Forest since April 24, 2006, whereas Wendy Frazier will honorably retire from the city on March 31, 2012, whereas Wendy Frazier served in the following position during her dedicated career: accountant. Whereas Wendy Frazier's service highlights include the processing of over 4,000 W-2s and 161 payrolls, assisting fellow employees with any type of payroll or benefit question, processing numerous journal entries, assisting with the preparation of the payroll budgets for each department, as well as assisting with the annual audit. Now therefore be resolved by the City Council of the City of Lake Forest that the Council, on behalf of the administration and residents of the community, hereby expresses its appreciation and gratitude to Wendy Frazier for a public service faithfully performed, and be it further resolved that the city clerk be and hereby is instructed to deliver a copy of this resolution duly signed by the mayor to Wendy Frazier this 19th day of March 2012. And we congratulate you for 6 years, and I can tell you, as someone who's got a business background and one who's married to an accountant, and I know there's 3 letters that she has behind her name that's CPA, and we have a kind of a kidding as to what those really stand for. But this one of the most underappreciated positions in of all administrations. Certainly one that the administration cannot artfully work every day without your dedication to it. So we appreciate your 6 years, and thank you for doing what you did.
I move to adopt the resolution.
Got it. One of these days I'll remember that. But all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Our next resolution this evening is for Steve Laurila for 23 years of service. It's hard to believe 23 years. Known Steve for, well, probably 17 of those anyway, but I'd like to read this into the record and then present this to you as well, Steve. Whereas Steve Laurila has served the city of Lake Forest in the capacity of Assistant Director of Communications and Public Information in the Office of the City Manager from July 1989, Cable Television Coordinator in the Office of the City Manager from May 1991, PC, LAN or LAN Support Specialist in the Information Technology Department from November 15, 2004, and Network Administrator in the Finance Information Technology Department since January 3rd, 2011. And whereas Steve Laurila will honorably retire from the city on March 31, 2012, whereas Steve Laurila's service highlights include he managed the municipality's first cable television implementation in 1989, implementation of the city's cable television stations, Channel 17 and Channel 19, implementation of the first live broadcast of city council meetings in 1995. I remember that. Founding role in the establishment of the Lake Forest Lake Bluff Internet Consortium, chairman of the Lake Forest Lake Bluff Internet Consortium Technical Committee, part of the implementation of the city's first website, implementation of the first wide area data network for the city, part of the city's renovation of the city's phone system in 2005, and part of the municipal services data center relocation in 2010. And now, therefore, be it resolved by the City Council of the City of Lake Forest, on behalf of the administration and residents of the community, hereby expresses its great appreciation and gratitude to Steve Laurila for a public service faithfully performed, and be it further resolved that the city clerk be and hereby is instructed to deliver a copy of this resolution duly signed by the mayor to Steve Laurila this 19th day of March 2012. And Bob, you want to?
I move to adopt the resolution.
There you go.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And Steve, I think this is another one, much like Kathy, where you have, over 23 years of service. I think you kind of were the guy. You were the IT guy. There was no department. It was Steve, and anything that had to get done in any of those areas. And obviously, we saw such a wide range of accomplishments from. It's basically, my dad used to call it chief cook and bottle washer. You did it all, and that was all in the IT department. And I don't think we would be anywhere we're at today. We wouldn't even be here, and the public wouldn't know we're here without all the work that you've done, setting us up and getting us in the right places. And you're even the guy that put my iPad together here when we just switched over in January. But that's just obviously just scratching the surface for all your accomplishments. And I know you and I talked briefly back in January when we had a few minutes there. And I know I want to find your phone number, because anything I got at home I need help with, I know where to go. I'm looking for you. But you've done an outstanding job, and we're certainly going to miss you. And I thank you, one, for at least personally, for being able to work with you over all these years, and your personal kindness and your personal ability to help. Anybody else want to throw in?
Thank you for helping me go to the iPad. I would still be lost without your help.
Did you want to say anything, Steve?
No, sir.
Okay.
No, after all that?
We could so call you for that.
have one more resolution I'd like to read this evening as well and present. This is for Michael Tiegs. Tiegs, I'm sorry, Michael. Michael has been a dedicated employee of the City of Lake Forest since September 12, 1977. Michael Tiegs will honorably retire from the city on March 16, 2012, whereas Michael Tiegs served in the following positions during his dedicated career: as maintenance worker 2 in the sanitation section from 1977 to 1991, was assistant supervisor of the sanitation section from 1991 to 2008, a maintenance worker 2 in the street section from 2008 to 2012, a state of Illinois CDL licensed tester from 2002 to 2012, and the LFEA president from 2004 to 2011. Whereas Michael Tiegs was an original member of the Public Works Employee Safety Committee and original member of the Public Works Accident Review Board. Whereas Michael Tiegs in 1991 helped implement the original curbside recycling program for the City of Lake Forest by training personnel on new equipment, designating and implementing new routes, managing the program, and collecting data. Whereas Michael Tiegs in 1999 helped his new supervisor redesign refuse, recycling, and yard waste routes, adding efficiencies to routes and better service to the residents. Whereas Michael Tiegs in 2000 and 2001 assisted the sanitation section in the safe operation of new recycling equipment and the redesign of the resident drop-off program at the compost center. And whereas Michael Tiegs in 2008 transferred to the street section to become involved in mailbox repairs, utility locating, street sign installation and maintenance, and mainline snowplow operator. Now therefore be it resolved by the City Council of the City of Lake Forest that the council, on behalf of the administration and residents of the community, hereby expresses its appreciation and gratitude to a public service faithfully performed, and be it further resolved that the city clerk be and hereby is instructed to deliver a copy of this resolution duly signed by the mayor to its 19th day of March 2012. You're near and dear to my heart because you're a guy that plays with the big trucks and helps us with our sanitation and recycling. As Michael Thomas knows, that's something that I certainly cherish, and I think, again, you've put in 35 years of service, which to put in any place today at one location is outstanding. You've done an outstanding job for the community, and we thank you for all that you've done. And we're going to miss you as well. Thank you.
We didn't adopt the resolution.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Nobody would have me.
Hey, Mike, go to the microphone so everybody can hear you at home. And I also will ask, after you make your statement, to tell the council and the community the Tiegs family tree in Lake Forest.
Well, as the mayor mentioned, I've worked for the city for 35 years, and I do have a family history here in Lake Forest. My mom and her family grew up in Lake Forest. My mom was a graduate of Lake Forest High School. Her brother was in the police department and eventually became Fire Chief Edward Burns, who just died recently, but he worked for the city since 1955. So since 1955, a member of my family's been working for the city of Lake Forest. Currently, my son is working here now as well, so he will continue on the tradition. My father worked here as well, and that's how I kind of got started as well. So between my father and I, we've had 70-some years of service, and my son hopefully will have just as much, and maybe 100 years of service total in my family. So, other than that, it's been a fantastic experience working here. I've learned so much over the years, and the great people that I worked with. Obviously, 35 years is not something you can do by yourself. I've had a lot of help through those years, and I appreciate everyone that's helped me and my family, and it's just been a great experience. I'd also like to thank the City Council for working with us, the LFEA, the Lake Forest Employee Association, in our contract negotiations and approving those contracts. It's something that was important to me, and most of the majority of the members that I work with. There was obviously a few dissensions, but we were able to get through those and get the contracts approved properly. And finally, I'd like to thank the City Council for approving the ERI, which allows me to retire at such a young age. Thank you.
Can we have the before pictures this time, Bob? I mean, I'm really kind of missing that.
Yeah, but with Mike, it would look the
With
same.
Mike, I mean, it's the same, but
And Steve
I
paid me
won't make
not
any
to,
other
and
comments
Kathy,
about that.
I was gonna say either that or we changed our employment hiring because you look like you started at 5 years old. I don't know how you do it. 18.
Wow.
Well, that concludes my comments this evening. Our next item on the agenda is comments by city manager.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. It's my honor to invite forward at this time the chair of the Parks and Recreation Foundation, Mark Milliman, and members Rick Amos and Laura Brown, who have some very exciting news about this year's 4th of July Festival and fireworks.
Thank you, Bob. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and congratulations, before you all leave, congratulations to the wonderful service for all the folks that got the commendations tonight. That's tremendous. I've been a lifelong resident of Lake Forest. I grew up here, and there isn't any better service of any town I've ever lived in, so that's really terrific. I am the president of the Friends of Lake Forest Park and Recreation Foundation, and I want to give you a little background on what we do, and then I'll let Rick come up and talk a little bit about what we're going to do for the 4th of July. We are exactly what it sounds like. We are the foundation for the Parks and Recreation Department. And our mission is to support the Park and Recreation Department in any way we can. And we'll talk a little bit about some of the fundraisers that we do. But I do also want to mention that the foundation itself is also a pass-through for some separate funds, just so in case there's somebody at home that's looking to set up something to donate to the city. We do serve that purpose as well. For instance, the Yellow Farm Foundation, Wildlife Discovery Foundation, and we've got several personal foundations that are out there. For instance, the Daniel Jekyll Fund, which just actually supported the new basketball courts over at Wayland Park, which, if you haven't been there yet, are really tremendous. And that was something that the foundation used as a pass-through. Okay. We are a 501c3 charity, and we do have two of our major fundraisers that we do every year. First one, little plug on that, is June 1st over at Deer Path Golf Course, and we're looking for people to play golf. Come out and support us. We're also looking for any corporate sponsors that can help us with that. Again, it's on June 1st, and I know a lot of the aldermen and everyone else has played in it in the past. Certainly the mayor has. Hopefully the wing gets fixed before the golf tournament. So that's on June 1st, and that's the Fred Jackson Golf Classic, which we've got some really wonderful things happening there. The other thing that we've been doing now for, I believe, 6 years is the 4th of July Festival and Fireworks, which is growing every year, and I'll let Rick come up and give you what we're going to be doing this year, because it's pretty exciting. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Rick Amos, and I have the pleasure of serving as the event coordinator for the 4th of July Festival and Fireworks here in Lake Forest. As Mark mentioned, this year is our 6th year. We think it continues to get better each and every year based upon feedback we get from our roughly 10,000 to 12,000 attendees every year, as well as our committee of volunteers on the foundation board, which numbers anywhere from 25 to 30 different individuals volunteering their time in the planning of this event. So with that being said, we look forward to this year's event, and for those of you that have been there in the past, it won't look too different than what we've done in the past. It will be on Wednesday, July 4th this year in Deer Path Park, which is behind the Deer Path Middle School, as you all know. And so we're looking forward to that date. We will open the gates at 5 p.m. this year, so a little earlier than in the past, to allow for more time for setup for families to kind of stake their ground, if you will, and set up prior to the events, which will commence at 5:45 this year. We'll have 3 musical acts playing this year. We have 16 candles opening. They've played with us in the past. If you know them, they're an 80s band. We then will have a new band for our headline performer, which this year will be Kenny Loggins. Will be performing, and Kenny has started a new band called Blue Sky Rider. They'll be playing for about a half hour prior to his solo performance this year, his solo act will start at 8 o'clock. So similar to the past, there'll be an admission fee for residents of Lake Forest and Lake Bluff. That will be $10 to enter the park. If your age is 5 and under, you get free admission. If you're a non-resident of Lake Forest and Lake Bluff, it'll be $15 to enter the park this year. And tickets are online. You can buy those at the day of the show, or you can go ahead and buy them ahead of time at our website, which is friendslfpr.org, where you can buy tickets and buy parking passes and packages similar to in the past. If you want to come to the fireworks, which will begin at 9:40, and not enter the park or come for the music or the food prior to, you can do that. The gates will be open free to the public at about 9:20, so it'll allow time for folks to come in that want to witness the fireworks and not pay for admission or pay for the music this year. Similar to the past, we'll have a variety of things for folks to do. You can bring in your own food and beverages, Ravinia style if you want. We will be providing beverages for sale as well as food for sale. Food this year will be provided by Levels of Lake Forest. I've had a couple meetings with Jay already. He's got an exciting menu for this year's event. That'll be available for sale for anybody that wants to buy food and beverages at the event. We also this year have a VIP section available for sale. So if you want to come to the event and buy a package, if you will, provides for admission, entrance into the VIP area near the stage, the music stage. Will also include food and beverages while they last. We have a package available this year. That was part of the feedback last year. Some folks liked that feature and wanted to know how they could be a part of that. This year we're also looking for sponsorship opportunities. All the sponsors from last year have already recommitted, so we're excited about that. It probably says a lot about the quality of the event and the experience that they're having from it. We expect between 10 and 12,000 folks to attend the event, so it's a nice venue, the largest of our kind in this area. And there are additional sponsorship opportunities out there. If anybody wants to participate in the program, they can again contact, or they can contact the Park and Rec Department. They can reach us. This year, what will be new is the fireworks show. It will be the same duration. It's a 20-minute show going off at 9:40, as I mentioned earlier. But this year, we're trying something a little different. We've reached an agreement, or the City Parks and Recreation Department's reached an agreement with Onwensia Golf Club, and we will be locating the fireworks and shooting them from Onwensia this year rather than the west end of the park. That'll serve two purposes. It'll free up the park and give us more space for our occupants to spread out a little bit, if you will. And it'll also hopefully give us a better viewing area and have less impact on those residents that are to the west end of the park, who sometimes, depending on the wind direction, can get some debris in their yard and their field. So we think it'll contain the debris field, if you will, a little bit better. So they've given us a 1-year opportunity to try that out and see how that works. So we're hopeful that that works. That concludes my comments, unless there are any specific questions anybody has or any additional information I can provide you.
Rick, the only comment I'd make is I'd just like to also thank local resident Chris Stewart, who was also instrumental in helping us get Kenny Loggins to be here this year. We had an opportunity to sit down and meet Kenny, and Bob was in attendance that evening, and Chris was very generous in not only helping, as I know you did as well, and negotiate that, but also he is out of his own pocket donating some substantial amount of money to get the band here as well, and he's also playing in the band, as he did with Dave Mason Band here during our 150th celebration. So it's kind of neat that we have the folks in the community that we do that can step up and help out with their time and talent, and get the kind of bands and folks here for the 4th of July celebration. It should be a great celebration. We're looking forward to it.
Thank you very much.
And just continued success. Hope it's a sellout.
Thank you. If we can get somebody to help us with the weather to make sure it's about 80 and sunny, that would be great. That's the only thing we're missing at this point.
Move it to March 19th, probably.
Yeah, we moved to this one.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Okay, this year, I'll end with this year's note. There are sponsorship opportunities available if anybody's interested in that. Once again, the Lake Forest Bank and Trust is a presenting sponsor, and Fields Automotive Group has also continued to be a sponsor. This is the 6th year that they've all been our top 2 sponsors, and we love the fact that they continue to support us, and we'd love to add others to that list. So, thanks again.
Thank you.
Thanks very much. The next item under my report, and I guess I would just continue by saying let the good times roll, because I'm very excited about this, and I think the community will be as well. Let me provide a little background or context for the conversation. As the City Council knows, with the renovation of the railroad station, we've been looking at bringing in new tenants, and in reaching out and talking with various people, they said that probably the facility that had the most promise from a retail economic development standpoint was the West Depot, which is where the Chamber of Commerce currently has its offices. Susan Kelsey came to me and said, wouldn't it be neat to have an open air market in this facility as we go forward? So that really tied in well with the with Market Square and the activity in the businesses in Market Square. We got in the car and drove north to visit an old friend that used to be in Lake Forest, and unfortunately we were not able to find a suitable location to keep him in Lake Forest, but he's always been a long-time resident and supporter of Lake Forest, and we're pleased to report that this evening we're bringing him back. The first item on the agenda is to enter into a lease agreement for the space that is currently being occupied by the Chamber of Commerce. And I should digress for a moment and say that we were looking for other spaces to put the Chamber of Commerce, but they've ultimately found what many might argue is even a better space than they have right now. They're going to be moving into the arcade building on Deer Path that's owned by Altunian. And so they're very anxious about getting into their new space, and we're very anxious about getting Pasquazzi's moved into this new space and renovated as well. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Susan Kelsey to make some additional comments.
Good evening. Well, we're just thrilled to have Pasquazzi's on the square, and I'd like to introduce Ed Pasquazzi and his son Mike Pasquazzi, and they'll give you an update on their colorful plans for the train station.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. I'd just like to give you a brief overview of what we have planned for the train station. Our goal is to make it a mini Pasquazzi Home and Gardens. The outdoor space around the building will be a outdoor flower market where we'll have a selection of annuals, perennials, mixed containers, hanging baskets. Inside the store, we'll have a variety of products. We'll have a selection of houseplants, orchids, a small selection of garden products. We'll have home accents and various gifts. Throughout the season, the space will change because of its size. It's going to be fairly easy for us to flip it very quickly. We will, so for example, during the holiday season, where our plans are to turn it into a Christmas market, where we'll have fresh cut trees, mixed greens, wreaths. Inside we'll have a Christmas shop with ornaments and a variety of holiday gifts. We will be open 7 days a week, and our plan is to be open from 8 till 6. Overall, this is it's a really exciting adventure for us. We're all looking forward to being back in Lake Forest and just being a part of Market Square. I'd like to, if you have any questions for me, I'd be happy to answer them.
Any questions?
I was gonna say, you could probably Go back to your old space if you wanted.
No, just excited and, yeah, trying to maybe pump up ideas or something, but the one tough part we have for my house is going all the way out to your current store to get pet food. If we call ahead, is there any way we could pick up our 75-pound dog pet food bag at the station, or?
Sure. Yeah.
Good answer.
Can I get a vote on that? No, but you're going to supply pet products also, or?
We are, because the space is so small.
Yeah.
We're going to be experimenting with a lot of different products. We have talked about that, but we also have talked about the convenience of if a customer would like a product, that we'd be more than happy to have it at that location for them to pick up.
I'll leave that up to my wife, to bother you on that. But good luck, and just, it'll bring a little more vibrance to Market Square, which is wonderful. Thanks. And when's it going to be up and running?
Well, if the city council approves a motion, I got to change it slightly. The attorney is suggesting that the council authorize the city manager to execute a lease with Pasquesi in substantially the form attached and subject to final review and approval by the city attorney. If the council does that, our goal is to try and get them in early May or as quickly as possible. Part of it is getting the chamber relocated so we can get into the interior space. And also, the next item on your agenda is associated with this as well, is to get the area around that space ready for the relocation.
Well, I love this idea. I think it's great that it's a local businessman, that it's not some national chain or big entity, that it's, I love the whole European flower market, and I like the fact that it will create more movement in Market Square. Now you've got a reason to cross that street, and not just to cross the street, but to shop there, to bring your sandwich or your whatever else, you know, your snack that you purchase in Market Square, bring that across the street and sit at one of those tables right across from the square, right across from the fountain. It's a gorgeous view. And that's an area that, you know, that building is in a prominent place, but it's a focal point, but there's really, you kind of just ignore it. I mean, and I think this will really make it a beautiful focal point, and good luck. I can't wait to be open.
Welcome back.
Thanks.
We'll need a motion.
So moved.
Second.
I'll second.
So roll call vote, please.
Alderman Novit?
Aye.
Alderman Waldeck?
Aye.
Alderman Morsch?
Aye.
Alderman Schoenheider?
Aye.
Alderman Palmer?
Aye.
Alderman Adelman?
Aye.
6 yeas, no nays, motion carries.
The second item associated with that, as I mentioned, the council may recall that when we were before you a year ago for the renovation, restoration of the train station, part of that project that was approved by the Historic Preservation Commission was to reestablish the hip roofs on this facility we were just mentioning, the West Depot. Part of that required then the two existing trees had to be removed from the landscaped areas on either side. We had promised the Historic Preservation Commission that we would come back with a landscape plan. We've done that, and at the same time, we're going to be addressing some both ADA issues as well as taking advantage of this open air market concept and really improving that and visually connecting it to Market Square. And so Dan is here this evening because with the tight time schedule and to try and get this work done so that we could get Mr. Pasquesi into his space, we did approach Bleck Engineering for a design build concept. And Dan, I'll turn it over to you.
Well, that's pretty much it.
Sorry.
But that's okay. That in order to make all this happen and get that
Bob's
open
getting comfortable with you.
Yes, yes, he is, and I certainly appreciate that. But it is an aggressive timeline, and so we did hire Bleck to put together a design build so we can move this forward and get this done and construction really towards the end of April. So in order to do that, we did go with the design-build approach, and staff is recommending to waive the bidding process and award the design-build service contract to Black Engineering Company for the guaranteed maximum price of $104,603.60, and to authorize staff to amend the proposed FY 13 CIP budget to reflect the $13,650.60 increase. So I can take any questions to move this along. Obviously, this is the same drawing that was presented to the Public Works Committee at the February 21st meeting, and it had favorable response. So
Any questions for Dan?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Roll call vote, please.
Alderman Novit.
Aye.
Alderman Waldeck.
Aye.
Alderman Morsch.
Aye.
Alderman Schoenheider.
Aye.
Alderman Palmer.
Aye.
Alderman Adelman.
Aye.
6 yeas, no nays, motion carries.
Thank you, Bertie. And thank you, Dan.
Thanks, Dan. All right, I'm not even going to say a word. Susan, this one's all yours.
All right, the third item for our approval tonight is we had our first farmers market last year. We did a written survey at the end of the season, asked all the vendors ways we could improve the market, their suggestions. One of them was to move to more visible locations. So we're trying this year, we're asking for a temporary special use permit at the train station south of the building, north of Deer Path Road, west of McKinley. And we would use the west half of the parking lot. So we would get everybody loaded in, open up the barricades, and let traffic be able to flow from Deer Path north through the parking lot, so also they can park there too. It starts June 23rd. Our hours are from 8 until 12:30. We have a couple of new vendors this year. We have bison beef. We have new Greek olive oil, feta cheese. We have a number of bakery items, pies, Alderman Novit, a number of cold drinks. And new this year, Northwestern Lake Forest Hospital is sponsoring and underwriting the farmers market, so we appreciate that. And we're just thrilled to have Pasquazi's on the Square anchor it with their beautiful plants and flowers.
Any questions?
Well, Susan seemed to cover all the questions I had. No, it was great last year. I thought, again, we're talking about vibrance in downtown. It gave it vibrance on the weekend, and it's only going to grow.
Yeah.
So continued luck. It is in a more visible spot, so it's only a step forward. So do we have a motion for approval?
You're entitled to make one.
A motion to waive first reading?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries, and you want a motion for approval?
Yeah.
Motion for approval?
Second.
We get a roll call vote, please.
Alderman Novit.
Aye.
Alderman Waldeck.
Aye.
Alderman Morsch.
Aye.
Alderman Schoenheider.
Aye.
Alderman Palmer. Alderman Adelman.
Aye.
6 yeas, no nays, motion carries.
And then Susan, you just want to brief the council on some other exciting news going on in our business district?
Yep, the phone's been ringing off the hook. We have some new businesses opening up. One is called CB. It's a blue jean store. It will be opening at the former Emporium Luggage location. They're taking both those storefronts. Douglas Vacuum is now open over on the Sunset Plaza. If you haven't been in there, you've never seen so many colorful vacuums in your life. And they have everything that you could possibly want over there. Southgate has new owners, and they'll be doing some renovations, so they'll shut down, I believe, the month of April, Kathy was saying. Chamber of Commerce, as Mr. Kiley mentioned, will be moving over to the arcade building. They'll have the display booth there, so you'll be able to catch up on all the activities in town. And Donati's Pizza has just doubled their space, so they're down on the north end of town next to Burger King. They've doubled, blown out to the space next to them and added on some seating in there. And then next quarter, we'll have 3 more businesses that we'll be able to announce. So that's some exciting news in the business district.
And Susan, I think the question that everybody's asking, the new blue jean store, can you get those skinny jeans?
You can get all sizes, Bob.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks, Susan.
And that completes my report for this evening.
Thank you, Bob. Our next item on the agenda is comments by council members. Yes.
I promise not to go 3 or 4 minutes. I have breakfast at 6:30 in the morning with a handful of guys, one of whom is third-generation plumbing company in the city of Chicago. The last 60 days, he's been helping his daughter look for housing in Lake Forest. being a plumber, the first thing he does is scrutinize the plumbing. He says 90% of the homes they go into have plumbing code violations. Plastic pipe. Not just P-traps, but other plastic components, which in Lake Forest we do not allow. So I told him I would bring this to the attention of the community, that if you hire a local plumber, make sure they're aware of our codes. Plastic is not allowed. Neither is copper waste either, I don't think. So I'm doing what I promised him, that I'd bring it to our attention. However, the second half of our conversation, I was enlightened to learn that every other community allows PVC except us. And even the city of Chicago now, if it's 3 units or less, allows plastic pipe. And according to him, it's of no less quality than the cast iron that's being used with the compression joints. And I know I'm probably like going way against the grain here, but I would suggest that our code commission revisits it.
Well, I could tell you, you're speaking to a guy that started on the Construction Codes Commission here, and that we went through this issue probably every week, because on that commission were a number of plumbing contractors, and they will tell you, you know, we have the best code because of what we allow and what we do not allow. And we do allow, and Kathy can correct me, that we do allow some PVC, and that maybe would, maybe that's what he's looking at. I'm not sure, because I don't know what the conversation was, but I'm going to have Kathy just opine here for a minute, because
Well, maybe
it's
I'll
been
just-
a great debate for a long time in the community.
It has been a great debate, but maybe I'll just make it simple. The Construction Codes Commission will soon be bringing a recommendation forward to the council to adopt the 2012 International Codes, just released earlier this month. And part of that recommendation will be stepping back and relooking again. I know in my time here, we've probably done maybe 5 different studies looking at cost and durability and sound qualities of cast iron versus PVC, but they will again step back and look at that, and you'll have an opportunity soon to hear their latest recommendation on that.
Okay. If I can just add a couple more comments, and that is, it's kind of generally known that in the city of Chicago, they prohibited plastic for years and years and years, mostly to protect the unions. It didn't really have to do with protecting the consumer, but they've gotten past that. If anybody's ever had a pressure test of a cast iron system, and they're not using lead and oakum anymore, they're using compression fittings, those things leak like a screen door when they test them under pressure. Whereas the plastic pipe doesn't do that. And I'm really not trying to lobby for plastic pipe. I would just like someone to give me the rationale for why we're the only one who doesn't allow that anymore.
Well, we're not the only one, as far as I can remember from my time on the commission.
Almost.
But I think I would wait, and Kathy can come back and report to us, but I know we had very qualified individuals on that commission who had their own businesses as well, and that lobbied very hard, that lived here as residents, that this was a far superior product. And I'm not going to take that argument one way or the other, but I think we should wait to have them relook at it and bring the facts back to us, and we can take a look at it at that time. But I appreciate the insight, because there's a lot more to it than meets the eye, let's put it that way.
Well, at least speaking for Bob and I in the 4th Ward, we're going to enforce the code.
We're going to give the city the pipe.
St. Patrick's Day's over. Any other comments? Yes.
I had a quick announcement. I don't know what the second ward has to say about the pipe. We'll have to find that out at some other day. They're not here tonight. I'd just like to announce quickly, we have, as some may recall, we last year approved, the Housing Trust approved some contribution to purchase 2 homes together with Community Partners for Housing Partners, which is a not-for-profit that we are working with to renovate some existing homes. We are having an event. They are having an event in April which is a service day, and they're accepting volunteers to come help begin to do some of the groundwork in renovating this home on McKinley Avenue. So people are welcome to come and sign up. I think it's limited, and I'm guessing from the kind of response we're receiving so far, it'll probably get filled up pretty quickly. So it's an exciting opportunity. This house is closing. It's being sold to a family, and it's very exciting on the affordable housing front. So thank you very much.
And I just want to thank the Housing Trust for their work and that effort. We've partnered with the community of Partners for Affordable Housing for a while now, and this was a recommendation from the Housing Trust. I think that they've done a great job of promoting this and getting it going in the community, and given our economic times where there are a number of homes that are certainly more affordable than certainly they were years ago, this is a great opportunity. So I thank the Housing Trust for all your work in that regard.
Yep. Thank you, Mayor, and thank you for the council for your support thus far. This has been great and much appreciated.
And that's April 21st at 9 in the morning?
April 21st at from 9 to 12 noon.
And will the mayor's hand be?
And
I can
to
supervise
sign
that.
up, you can reach out to the Community Partners for Affordable Housing. There's a flyer that was just up on the board, but they have a website, and if anybody has questions, they can of course call Kathy Cerniak in the city, who doesn't get enough phone calls, so we'll send some more her way. So, thank you very much.
Any other comments by council members? No? Then we'll move on to our next item on the agenda this evening, which is an opportunity for citizens to address the city council on non-agenda items. Anyone from the public wish to speak this evening? No? Then we'll move on to the next item, which we have two. We have two items under the items for omnibus vote consideration. I'll read them both and then entertain a motion for approval. First one being a consideration of an ordinance decreasing the number of commissioners on the Senior Resource Commission from 9 members to 7 members. And the second is an approval of the March 5, 2012 City Council meeting minutes. Any questions or comments on either one of those?
You know, I did have a brief question that, on the Senior Resource Commission, Marla, and I don't know if you can answer this. I know we keep statistics on Lake Bluff, and I was wondering, is there any distinction here between residents of Lake Forest and Lake Bluff? And also, is Lake Bluff no longer funding?
Lake Bluff is still funding.
Oh, they are
and-
funding, okay.
Yes, absolutely. And there is a defined number of members on the commission.
Can you just share
from-
that with me, what those numbers
Yes,
are?
absolutely. Originally, it was 3, 4, and, hold on one second. On the 9, it was 4 and had been reduced to 3, and then from Lake Bluff now, it would be Village of Lake Bluff at least 3, and no more than 3 members shall represent Lake Bluff, and the remaining shall represent the city of Lake Forest.
Okay. Is that commensurate with the budget contribution and the
Yes,
membership?
yes.
Okay, great,
Yes.
thank you. That's it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Roll call vote, please.
Alderman Novit.
Aye.
Alderman Waldeck.
Aye.
Alderman Morsch.
Aye.
Alderman Schoenheider.
Aye.
Alderman Palmer.
Aye.
Alderman Adelman.
Aye.
6 yeas, no nays, motion carries.
Thank you, Bertie, and thank you, Marlon, for coming up. Our next item on the agenda this evening is ordinances. We have one, which is a consideration of first reading of ordinance approving the plan of governance ordinance for the city's residential and small commercial retail electricity aggregation program. And I'm not going to say that again. Presented by Karina Walters, Assistant City Manager.
I'll just remind, as Karina's approaching the podium, that tomorrow is election day and there is a referendum on the ballot.
That's vote early and vote often, most definitely. And I know we have former Alderman Grumhouse back there waiting to come up and push the plan.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council. I've actually been before you probably about 4 or 5 times within the last maybe 4 months or so to talk about electric aggregation. And pursuant to state law, the city is required to adopt an ordinance approving the plan of governance. This is in order to implement the opt-out program that the city is looking to do. At the February 6th Committee of the Whole meeting, we reviewed a copy of the POGO. We actually provided a status of the North Shore Electric Aggregation Consortium. I provided a timeline with regards to the actual process. And we also conducted the first of 2 required public hearings in order to implement the program. If you recall, the Plan of Operation and Governance outlines basically the roles and responsibilities of not only the city, the consortium, as well as the consultant towards the aggregation program. In your packet, you have a redline version of the POGO that was actually discussed at the February 6th meeting. Now, Lake Forest plan for the POGO is providing universal access to all applicable residential customers and equitable treatment of applicable residential customers. It provides demand management and energy efficient services to each class of customers and meets any other legal requirements concerning the aggregation process. Back at your February 6th meeting, David Grumhouse, former Alderman David Grumhouse, did make a presentation to you regarding some of the outcomes that we still needed council approval on. This evening, he will actually be discussing the renewable energy and making a recommendation from the Electric Aggregation Subcommittee, the cities, to really identify how we should move forward with that. So if the referendum passes tomorrow evening, we probably won't have the data until maybe Wednesday or Thursday. However, if it does, the next step would be having our final hearing on the POGO. We will be asking the City Council to approve the document. We will also be asking the City Council to approve an ordinance formally adopting the opt-out program. We will be awarding a bid for commencement, as well as we're hoping that, and we also anticipate that the electrical swap would be as of June 1st. So with this being said, I'm going to pass it to David Grumhouse, who can discuss renewable energies.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and Council. Nice to be back. I'll try and be brief. While I'm sure the budget session was a lot smoother and less dull than it was the last 5 years, I do remember it being a long day, so I'll try and keep things moving and get you all out of here. As Karina said, we are almost at D-Day with electric aggregation. The vote is tomorrow. We're all hopeful the referendum will pass because it will obviously bring very substantial savings to pretty much all the residents in town. So we're hopeful that it will go through. We've tried to promote it as much as we can in looking at it. As Karina said, there are really 2 issues that we think we need some guidance from the council on when assuming the referendum passes and we take the final vote on approval at the next council meeting. The first has to do with renewable energy credits and green energy. Most of you know green energy is basically energy generated from renewable sources, things like solar, wind, biomass, hydroelectric power, and that type of thing. Renewable energy only accounts for a small percentage of total energy in Illinois. Right now it's about 2%. It is mandated to increase to 25% by 2025. Whether that stays in place or not, we don't know, but it should increase a lot. Obviously, when we talk about buying renewable energy, and I think I mentioned this the last time I was here, there's no way we can set up to only get renewable energy delivered to our residents. Everything comes off the standard grid. Whatever's delivered to the grid, supplied to the grid, is what can go to the residents and go to the customers. And right now, that's only a couple percent. So what communities have done and what the system is set up to do is you have this system of renewable energy credits, which essentially, whenever a renewable energy source produces power, it receives a renewable energy credit. This is also produced. And so what we would do here, at the option of the council's recommendation, is to offer buy renewable energy credits equal to the amount of power that the residents are using. The credit, the the market right now is very cheap to buy renewable power. And so when we think about this, basically the standard amount that will be offered is at the base load is 7% renewable and 93% regular power or brown power. We can take that up to 100% if we want. We can do 25, 50, 75, or 100 basically. And when it is bid, each community will have the opportunity to decide how they want to do it. We've spent some time looking at this, and you can look at the rate comparison here. But essentially, it would be the recommendation of the commission that we should go ahead and buy 100% renewable energy credits to back up our power. We think this is the right thing to do. The other thing is it's really incredibly cheap. If you look at the presentation up here, the average house generates about 19,172 kilowatt hours of power every year. Right now, the energy portion of that at the ComEd rate is about $1,500 a year. We're estimating conservatively that we think that will go down to about $1,000 a year under the aggregation scenario. The cost to buy 100% renewable energy credits is about $20 a year. So as you can see, basically 2%, a 2% higher energy cost. At this rate, we think it is a good statement for the city to say that we're going to go ahead and do this. Obviously, if we decide to only stick at the 7%, we're going to save the residents $20, and that's certainly a decision that you all can make. The one thing I would say about the renewable energy credits is it is an open market. And right now, it's extremely cheap. We think it's going to stay pretty cheap. There is a risk when we get done with our aggregation and other people get done with our aggregation that this price could move up a lot. And at some point, obviously, we'd recommend, and you all might feel the same, that this isn't worth it to do, that we don't want the residents to have to pay too much more for this. But certainly at the prices we see now, $20 extra for a year for a resident, they're going to be saving, $500 off the current price. It felt like the right statement for the city to make. So, it's certainly open up to any questions people have about this. But I think it would be our recommendation that we try and back up our power with 100% renewable energy credits.
Any questions for David?
I might just mention that this evening we're looking for just sort of an indication from the City Council if this is the direction we want to go in. I should have probably mentioned at the outset that the consortium has solicited bids from suppliers. We currently have a supplier identified, and our consultant, Mark Pruitt, is working with our attorneys, Holland and Knight, to negotiate out the final terms. We were hoping to have those all worked out by tonight, but we think at the latest by tomorrow. But part of when they go to the market, they're going to need to know the various consortium members and how much renewable energy each of the consortium members want to purchase. Ultimately, you'll have to make this decision at your April 2nd meeting when you'll be approving all the other ordinances associated with this. But as David indicated, the recommendation is 100%, and based on the nods or direction of the council this evening, we would certainly pass that on to Mr. Pruitt and the supplier so that they can start putting the bid documents together.
David, how long is that? And by the way, first of all, it's great to see you back here.
Thank you, sir.
And thank you for all your work on this. It's difficult for me to understand it without you here to help. So thank you. What are the other communities doing on that? And then what's the lock-in for the period we have to commit?
The other communities we don't know. We do know Highland Park is only going to, which we were surprised about, is only going to do the 7%. So they're not going to take any of the renewable energy credits. Now there is an opportunity if we want to just take the lower one and let the residents pick on their own if they want to do that. Obviously that involves a lot of paperwork for the residents, and chances are we'll get some residents to do it, but we'll get a lot of residents who don't do it. I think other members of the consortium are going through the same exercise we are, and are supposed to talk to their city councils and come back with their recommendations for what they're going to do. Again, this is preliminary. We'll do the quasi-final on April 2nd. It will be contingent on what the bid is. Now, I think it's our expectation that if this is approved at the next council meeting on the 2nd, we will look probably pretty quickly to get into the market here But, you know, we're gonna be working with our advisor and our consultant and the supplier we pick, sort of watching the power markets, and, you know, we may wait a week or 2 or 3 if we think, you know, things have spiked up a little bit and may come back down. So, you know, the rec market could move. And so one of the things we may want to say on Monday night is, you know, we're okay at this cost with a, you know, 10% increase or 20% increase, but, you know, more than that, we want, you know, to come back. Although, again, we're going to have to move pretty quickly when we hit that bid. But, you know, the market has been very weak, if you will, so stuff's been cheap for a while. I don't think we see that changing. And once we do lock it in, you know, in the first couple of weeks of April, it will be locked in for the entire period of the contract. You know, the one other thing I would say on the contract, we're still debating whether we're going to go 1 or 2 years, and that's, again, going to be a little bit based on price, and maybe something we talk a little bit more about at the next meeting.
Great.
You
So-
may, I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry. So at the end of the term, if the market considerably changes at the end of the 1 or 2 years, we can certainly go back and revisit it.
Yes, we
Yeah, so
definitely,
that's-
yeah.
that's
So, yeah, it would be locked in at this rate for the period of the
great.
term, and then we'd go back and, you know, the next contract would be, you know, completely new.
Yeah, David, and it's just restating with the renewable energy credit, it runs per contract as far as the lock-in?
We would probably do it that way. I mean, if we signed a two-year contract and only wanted to do 1 year of renewable energy, we could. Again, I would tell you that if we did that, we should do it for the full 2 years, because the market's so advantageous right now.
Well, my 2 cents, I think we ought to go green, as green as we can go. That's my personal thought on this.
St. Patrick's Day is over.
Yeah, well-
We don't have to go green. I'm on the subcommittee with David and Kurt, and I can't thank them enough for the amazing amount of work they've done. I didn't participate in the discussion about green energy, but my feeling is it is, as you say, really cheap. And the other thing is, I think it makes a statement about our community. And the other thing is, if we didn't do it, it would make a bad statement about our community that we really don't care about our environment and that. This is something we're doing for our residents. It's really a service we're performing. So sitting here as a city council, maybe the quid pro quo we get is we'd like to do something really for the attempts to make the environment a better place. And it's cheap at this point to do it. If it turns out that it's a disproportionate cost to the residents, that's different. But I don't think it's a big burden to the residents, and I think it's something that, as a city council, we should support.
Agree.
Thank you for your help on the committee as well.
Are you looking for a recommendation on the green tonight, David? Or is it just-
No, I think we're just
Just an indication.
Just a nod.
Just an
Okay, we're
indication.
not nodding. Anybody else?
Right.
Nobody's nodding this way, are they?
Right.
Okay, it sounds like all nodded.
We'll obviously
Oh,
keep
and
you
first
posted
reading
and
of the ordinance.
hopefully be back at the next council meeting, assuming tomorrow goes well. But again, I would echo to everyone, please get out and vote for this, because it's a great benefit for the residents and small businesses. Thank you.
Thanks for all your hard work, David. We
Thank you,
appreciate
Mr.
it.
Mayor.
I would also add that all of the people in TV land that are watching this, if you feel strongly about saving money, you should go out and vote. And if you're going to the trouble to vote, you should look at the rest of the ballot, and for those of you in the 4th Ward.
Easy. I will make a motion to waive first reading. Or approve first reading.
Just
Approve first reading of an ordinance approving plan of governance for the city's residential and small commercial retail electricity aggregation program.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Mr. Mayor, I might just add, you know, for the record, to pick up on Alderman Palmer's comments. I think what
About
is-
voting tomorrow for him?
No,
You want to make a recommendation in that regard?
No. Regarding David and Kurt and Bob, I think the council knows we've had this electric aggregation committee, and I think it's a reflection of the type of people we have living in town, is that David and Kurt particularly, I don't want to pick on Alderman Palmer, but he's sort of like me and along for the ride and learning as we're going forward. But there are over 200 communities that are going to have this on the ballot tomorrow. And what we learned early on, and I think what Dave and Kurt really pushed, was that if we're going to maximize the benefits to our residents, we need to get out ahead of this tsunami. Because when we go to market, and we're going to try and go to market as soon after as we think advantageous, we will move the market. We're that large of a group that the rates will change. And so, at least based on our estimation, and I agree with what David and Kurt have been promoting, is that the next group and the next group and the next group will not be able to do as well as we did. And so through their hard work and effort and so forth, that our residents are going to maximize their benefit. And quite candidly, all the residents of those other communities as a part of the consortium who didn't want to initially go as aggressively as we really pushed and have turned around and now are on board, they will all equally benefit as a result of this, so that the impact that they've had not is just for Lake Forest residents, but a very large group of residents in the Chicago metropolitan area.
I definitely would echo your comments, and I think we're very fortunate, again, to have that kind of talent, and not just the talent, but the people that will step up and volunteer their time to help the community and help basically all the communities. And I think you're absolutely right. There was actually a good article in the Tribune last week. Probably a number of you saw that, but I thought they did a nice job of outlining the whole issue of aggregation, how it works, and how many communities were getting on board with this. And that was exactly their point too, Bob, that those that get in earlier are probably going to have even more benefits. So certainly it's again, thank you for all your hard work in getting this online and getting this, no pun intended, but getting this online and getting this thing moving. So thank you. Our next item on the agenda this evening is new business. We have first being an approval of Town Line Community Park Playground Equipment Purchase, presented by Chuck Myers, Superintendent of Parks and Forestry.
Good evening, Mayor and members of the council. We are seeking City Council approval to purchase equipment or playground equipment for Town Line Community Park. We did work with New Toys Leisure Products to design a playground that would be for multi-ages, from toddler up to 12 years, and then be inclusive to all children. We would be looking at purchasing this through the HGAC buy, which is a cooperative purchasing agreement. And then we would be installing the playground later this summer with our staff. The total cost for the equipment is $79,519. That was budgeted in fiscal year 12. And we are looking at using the remainder of the Route 60 debt issue. So we are trying to get this done in this fiscal year. We would use the special tax levy fund for the remainder, $10,519. So again, we'd just be purchasing the equipment right now and holding on to it until later this summer. The Park and Recreation Board met and unanimously support the playground at Town Line. They did request that we wait on the surfacing options until May and then come back to City Council with a proposal for the remainder of the project. So staff is recommending approval to purchase the playground equipment for Town Line in fiscal year 12, expending debt service funds from the Route 60 debt issue bonds in the amount of $69,000, with the remaining expenses of $10,519 expended from the special recreation tax levy funds. And this includes awarding a contract with HGAC buy for the purchase of the equipment.
Any questions for Chuck? Yes.
Yeah, I've got a couple. I was unable to attend the community meeting on this. I think it was last month. Was there a good turnout for that?
Well, there were, I think we had about 8-9 people. It was kind of low, I thought, but typically we did advertise it really well, just didn't get a great turnout. We did get some good feedback, however.
And the demographics in that area, Are there enough young children that live in close proximity to that you think it's really going to be well utilized?
We think so, and the bigger thing is with the ball fields there, the programming on that. That's where people come, also the pavilion as well.
Gotcha.
People coming to use that.
Okay. And this was budgeted. The perforation we did with that absorbent material last fall, that was an unbudgeted item, right?
Yeah, that was out of the debt fund, and that is one of the reasons why the park board wanted to wait to make sure that that was going well. And I would report that it is going very well. We haven't had a full season to have people try it and be on the field, so we just finished that in the fall.
Yeah, I was there this morning, and you can't even tell that they did it. And the conditions being dry as they are, do you have any way of knowing how effective that is?
What I've been talking to the staff, our staff, they've been involved with Town Line since its beginning, and they tell me that it's greatly improved from what it was. And like I say, I think we need to wait, at least in the spring season here, and find out from that.
It was dry as a bone this morning.
What we're seeing looks really good. And by the way, we'll continue to add, the product was called Turfus, we'll continue to add more until we're satisfied.
Now, just to pick up on one of the things that Mike said, I seem to remember, and I don't know who I heard it from, Mary, maybe it was you, that one of the main resident concerns or requests regarding that park was for this playground. So I do think there's a need, and I agree that, when kids are using those playing fields, the younger siblings are gonna go to the playground. I have one very small question. It's been a while since I had kids that were playground age. What exactly is an Eclipse net climber? And why does it cost $18,000?
We typically call it the big web because that's what people refer to it as. But that's if you have been to Waveland, it's the object in, oops, sorry, just messed that up. It's the large climbing structure with all the ropes, the large dome. I don't know.
And they really like that, huh?
Yep.
It's hugely popular at Waveland Park, and Country Day School also has one in there on their school property that it's playing on too.
Well, live and learn. I never.
We did present the park, or we actually presented at the community meeting a couple of different options, and that was one of the big deciding factors.
Okay. All right, good to know.
Any other questions for Chuck?
I'll make a motion to approve, and I'd like to just make a appreciation for Alderman Adelman for surveying the Third Ward parking facilities, or park facilities as well. Thank you very much. Happy to have your able assistance there. That was a motion.
I'll second. Roll call vote, please.
Alderman Novit.
Aye.
Alderman Waldeck.
Aye.
Alderman Morsch.
Aye.
Alderman Schoenheider.
Aye.
Alderman Palmer.
Aye.
Alderman Adelman.
Aye.
6 yeas, no nays, motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bertie. Thanks, Chuck. Our next item on the agenda this evening is an award of bid for the operation of the city's compost facility presented by Michael Thomas. Michael?
Thank you. Good evening, Honorable Mayor, members of the City Council. This evening, staff is requesting City Council approval for an agreement to operate, manage our yard waste facility at the compost center. The current agreement expires on April 30th. We utilize the current company, P. Clifford Miller Incorporated. We placed the services out to bid. We received bids on March 8th, and there is one caveat, as I have highlighted. In this write-up, I was amiss and forgot to mention that the bids were actually submitted late. We received 2 bids. The third bid came in late. I spoke with the bidder this morning, and he claims that his bid was submitted on time to some of our front counter staff, but I actually didn't receive it until 7 minutes after. So I want to point that out as a mistake that I made. I apologize. I was remiss in not mentioning that. So it is City Council's decision as to whether or not we should place it out to bid again, or if you so choose, we would, because of that issue, need to waive the bidding process and proceed from there. So I will entertain any questions you might have.
Michael, do we, when we accept a bid, if they go to the counter, are they time and date stamped at the counter?
They are date stamped, they are not time stamped. I believe we'll begin that practice. I can say that I found this out very late this afternoon, our streets and sanitation supervisor was up there and he confirmed that this bid in fact did come in before 10 a.m. It was stamped and Mr. Miller began having a conversation and from what it seems like lost track of the time and didn't proceed downstairs to the bid opening. But again, a mistake on my part for not mentioning it in the write-up.
What are our options? Could we?
Our options are either to place it out to bid once again, and in doing so, we would come back either at the first or second meeting in April, or number two, it would require a 2/3 majority vote of the city council to waive the bidding process and authorize the services to the recommended low bidder.
Actually, let me outline those a little more finely. The council can accept the Thielen bid, which is the lowest conforming bid. That would be option one. Option two, send it all out to rebid. Option three, reject all the bids, and that would allow you to waive bidding and accept the Miller bid. And I understand that the city has received a letter from Clifford Miller Inc., that P. Clifford Miller Inc., that would hold the bid that was presented to the counter but not presented in time for the opening. That bid amount for consideration if the council so chose.
Have we ever done this before? Reject all bids and then award a bid?
I don't know if the city of Lake Forest has. I do know that other municipalities that I work with have done so. You know, it's always a matter of how you all evaluate the best approach and what's best for the city.
Is there any indication that this is anything more than a technicality, and we have the ability under the bids to waive a technicality?
We do have the ability to waive technicalities. From what I understand, this is nothing more than that. My recommendation, however, would not be, if the notion is that this is a technicality that you'd like to waive, I would suggest that the better approach would be to reject all bids and then waive the bidding process and accept it in a separate process in that manner.
And why would you recommend that?
I think that would be an approach that would be much less susceptible to any kind of challenge as far as whether that was an appropriate technicality to waive.
Timeframe wise, our next meeting's in 2 weeks, 3 weeks. Would it be plausible to open the bids and just bring it back to the next meeting?
I think theoretically, yes. I think as a matter of our practice, I'll defer to Mike, but I think that we would typically afford more time for a bidding practice or a bidding process than what we have between now and our April 2nd meeting? April 2nd meeting.
But could we?
Yes, you
Okay.
could.
And we wouldn't have any interruption in service.
Now, as this contract goes through the end of April, I mean, theoretically, we could actually push it to the 16th? Is it the 16th meeting?
And we'd preserve our rules.
Well, all of the outlined options are within your rules, but you would have a bidding process that would not have any variant.
Yeah, but at the same time, we're going to have absolutely no guarantee of the pricing.
That is the risk that you would take.
And in addition to, I mean, we're dealing with a bid here, these aren't even close. This is over 20% difference. I mean, this isn't even remotely close. There's 2 qualifying bids. We bid it fair and square. There's no indication that there's anything other than exactly what went on, which in our rules, we have the ability to waive technicalities or do it some other way we want to. I mean, and plus on top of that, looks like we're going to study this thing in this year to see if you want to or keep it in-house anyway.
Yeah, and I understand
a one-year
that.
contract.
You know, just to put it in further perspective, I
There's the
understand
current
that
bidder.
Thielen bid would have some additional costs that are not reflected in their bid itself because of some required staff activities. I would note that, there arguably is a case that there was no variant at all in terms of the bidding process. The one thing we don't have, other than informal testimonial comment, is that it was timely presented to the counter, which was the standard, but not walked down the stairs for the opening in time. But again, I would suggest if the general consensus of the council is to pursue the P. Clifford Miller bid, that you simply reject all the bids, waive the bidding process, and accept that, so that there's no question as to the propriety of the actual bidding process. We have the absolute right in all instances to reject all bids. We likewise, subject to the supermajority vote, have the ability to waive all bids. Otherwise, if we accept it either with a waiver of the technicality or with the presumption that it did comply, there's an opportunity for someone to challenge that process.
Well, with all respect, I believe having this discussion is great. I think it's wonderful. I think we should be 100% transparent in what we're doing. I would vote only because the risk of rebidding this is greater, to cause a greater cost. I'd prefer that we go ahead as you recommended with the waiving the bid and accepting the low offer here.
See, now I'm gonna,
Okay.
in all due respect, I
That's
don't think
fine.
that's the right thing to do. Mike and I talked about it today. Mike, first of all, don't beat yourself up. I've heard you apologize about 5 times. Don't apologize. It happens. I think if we do this, and I know it sounds just ridiculous, and I know it's 9 o'clock, and I know nobody wants to hear me say it, I think we open ourselves up to just a lot of wiggle room for future issues. I really do. And I asked Mike the same question, Kent, that you asked today, which is, can we get it done in a timely fashion? Are we going to have a time gap? Does he believe the bill will stay the same? Are you still comfortable we're going to have the same outcome? I think we need to rebid it and go through that process to make sure that the process is tight and there's no issue going forward on that.
Well, there's this famous saying in the law that hard cases make bad law. And that is when you do something, you set a precedent. And as a lawyer, that would be my concern. So to that degree, I agree with Alderman Schoenheider that, if we say, okay, gee, we're just going to blow away our bidding process and then award it, it looks bad. Now, I would say, though, that if anyone looks at this precedent, it's pretty extraordinary. And what we're really trying to do is to just do equity here and get the job done as it should have been done. And I don't think there are any big irregularities here. And I am comfortable myself going the way of rejecting all the bids and then awarding it, because when our action is reviewed, it'll be understood why we did that. And I don't think we're really opening ourselves up. So, and I'm pleased to finally be able to agree with Alderman Morsch before he leaves the council.
Don, I respect your comment, and I think it's a fair one. I think that had there been some indication that there was something other than what occurred here, which is a technicality, I'd probably be more on your side on this one. I'm usually a challenger to these things, and this one seems pretty clear, and the money at stake is substantial, and the risk to me of rebidding it is everybody throws up their arms and says, the heck with you guys. It's such a minor.
In a way, it's almost unfair to the bidders.
That's-
You let them see what everyone's bid.
That's
and then
kind of
you
my
say, "Go back,"
sense,
and
and
I think we do a greater injustice by doing that.
If I can ring in also, I don't know how many of you know Clifford Miller, but if you do, then you understand he's incapable of having a conversation for only 7 minutes. If he ran into somebody at the counter that he knew, and I understand he ran into maybe Lou Decker, he would have forgotten that he had to get that thing downstairs. And I have no doubt that he was there before 10 o'clock to submit his bid. So for us to have to go through all these formalities, and when you balance the equities, I think the process was a clean one, and if for someone to come back and scrutinize us for waiving the process and going with his bid, I don't think they have much to stand on. In other words, I agree with Alderman Morsch and Palmer.
Oh.
I could go that way.
I agree with what you just said, Mike, too.
You know-
I think it's a extraordinary set of circumstances. If you accept everything that was said is true, and I do, it's a very unique set of circumstances, and it perhaps calls for a very unique response. So,
We have a recommendation then?
I would note, just as you think about this, you do need 6 aye votes in order to waive the bidding and approve this. So we are a little bit short on numbers, so just as you think about that, I wanted to make sure you were aware of what our voting requirement was. The mayor can certainly be one of those voters.
Can we table this?
Yeah, can we move it, can we ask the bidders to please keep their bids in place for
Do we
the
have-
next meeting?
Do we have to accept it?
Yes, we do.
We have a meeting in early April?
April 2nd.
April 1st or whatever it is?
Under those circumstances, if the bids will still be good for the April 2nd meeting, we can have this continued until that meeting. And at that point, the council can choose whatever action it takes, given the options.
How about in the vein of full transparency, we want to give everybody a chance to air this and think about it hard.
Get a full council, semi-full
Beat the
council.
numbers. I got it.
Yeah, no, it's transparent.
We're missing 2 aldermen, so.
So I don't,
But do you have to make a motion to table this or continue
Yep.
it? I
Just a
so-
motion to continue it to the April 2nd.
Okay.
And
I
I'll
move to
second.
continue this to the,
Wait, Alderman.
If I could slow down, that'll allow us time to notice it up again.
we have a motion on the floor.
We do.
Okay.
We have a motion and a second.
and it's to continue it to the next meeting.
But I'm trying to find out the effect of it. Would that allow us to properly notice it up and properly have everyone resubmit bids? Or are we
No, we
just
don't have to.
putting off the vote
That's
entirely?
interesting.
And then, if I may ask Michael a question, if we do reach the April 2nd meeting and we don't have a satisfactory vote such that the bid is accepted, do you then have time to rebid before the end of the month?
The answer at that point is no.
Okay.
But you could still go month to month with this operator, could you
Yeah.
not? Or
Do we have any extension in the current contract?
We
I think you do.
can, we haven't done that. I'm sure we probably could though, but yes.
I know
But Alderman
we've done that
Schoenheider,
with
correct.
previous operators before we had other agreements. At least they stayed on longer.
We can approach them before your April 2nd.
So-
meeting and get that confirmed.
That's another thought, anyway.
Sure. Yeah, that's fine.
So I have a motion and a second.
Call the question.
I'd like to call a vote. So this is just a voice vote, Vic? So a voice vote, please, on
Continuing.
continuing until the next council meeting to bring this up again at the next council meeting, which would be April
Second, I
2nd.
believe.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Oppose?
Nay.
No.
Well, who's the second now? Thank you.
Did you get the vote? Okay. All right, Michael, you're up next as well. We have the next item on the agenda, which is the city council approval to authorize the winter 2012-2013 salt purchase.
Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council, on March 8th, we received notification from the state that our amount that we would set aside through the state bidding process to purchase salt, we need to note that amount by the end of this month, March 30th, 5 p.m. As a result, we began calling the different salt suppliers just in case they had extra salt and have found that they look at it as a commodity that obviously lasts, and they are not giving any present discounts on salt. They had a banner year out on the East Coast. Midwest was somewhat normal or below average, but they weren't looking at selling the salt cheaper. So what we're asking for this evening is Chairman of the Public Works and Chairman of the Finance Committee, if you would authorize their approval for next Friday to determine exactly whether we should participate in the state bid for purchasing salt or whether we should go ahead and purchase under our current agreement at our current rate and, for lack of a better term, stock the shelves. The way the state bid program works is that all the towns and municipalities commit to a certain amount of salt, but they do not, or you're not told the price until July. So the state puts all those amounts together, they go out to bid. In July, they call you up and say you committed to buying X number of tons, and here is your delivered price. The only reason we're bringing ahead this issue, not only because of the deadline, but also the potential for fuel prices. And approximately out of our salt that we purchased this year at $65.64 a ton, $8 of it was the transportation cost. So we truly do not know what the costs will be in July for transportation. They potentially could go up. We have room at our current facility. We have about 50% storage room, in other words, 1,200 tons that we could purchase and store right now. The old municipal services building, we could store 600 tons. So if we were to fill both up, we would have approximately 3,000 on site going into the winter of next year. But it purely is a speculation issue, and that is why we wanted to bring it to yourselves, raise the topic, and in the end, hopefully let the two chairmen make the decision next Friday. I'll entertain any questions you might
Just
have.
quick thought, before this winter, the last 3 winters before were normally heavy snowfall winters. And on the average in those 3 winters, how many tons of salt do we use?
Approximately 3,000 tons. For the last 3 winters, not including this winter, but the last 3 winters, we averaged about 3,000 tons. If you go back further into our history, it goes down a little bit. So anywhere from 2,500 to 3,000.
Okay, so for a bad winter, we'd be using 3,000 tons.
3,000. Now, last winter, we were 3,700 tons.
Okay.
We used a lot of salt. The key here to remember is that if we do not commit to participating in the state bid on March 30th, then we're on our own if we need more. So in other words, if we buy salt right now for a current vendor, fill everything up, but come next February, we say, gosh, we need another 500 tons, we've got to pick up the phone and call these 4 salt suppliers, and the price will be whatever the price is. So it's just an asterisk that I wanted to point out.
I'd recommend going ahead. That's my thought.
Do you have a recommendation? I mean, I know we're supposed to be.
You know, my only
about
concern,
balance.
I actually don't think that the cost of the salt necessarily is going to come down. We've surveyed all the surrounding communities, everybody.
It's not coming down.
It's not going to go down. Everybody is paying. But the fuel prices, that was the point. The salt I don't think is going to go down. Everybody is right around anywhere from $61 to $67 a ton. But I am concerned about the fuel prices, and that's why I wanted to bring it to you. So we know what we have now. It is not expensed in the city budget until we actually use it. So as our Director of Finance said, it's actually purchased with cash on hand, and then it'll be expensed in an appropriate fiscal year. So my recommendation would be, we know what we have, let's see if we can fill the cupboards. We also talked to a couple surrounding municipalities that contractually are obligated to purchase salt in their current fiscal year. Vernon Hills is one of them, where they do not have storage for approximately 200 tons. So if we could get it a little bit cheaper than what we're buying and take that off their load, then that's another possibility. And we're going to check with other towns over the next week to see if there's different things we can work with on that realm. So,
How does the current price of salt compare to what it's been in the past?
the current price actually it has increased as compared to years past. We saw a significant increase back in 2007. We were right around $41 a ton, and in 2007 it jumped through the roof, almost $20 a ton. And that is why we went ahead with the Highland Park, Deerfield, and Lake Bluff, the consortium, hoping that our quantities together could bring the number down. And it simply was, everybody's rate went up. So there was a significant jump back in 2007. But again, we just had a survey performed for us by Northwest Municipal Conference, and when we look at the 15 municipalities that were listed, everybody is that $62 to $67 a ton, so.
But Michael, in, what was it, 9, it was $180 a ton.
That is when we brought it in from New Jersey. We
emergency
ran out
at
of
the
salt
end.
and we had
That
it
was
trucked
not
in
very
from New
nice.
Jersey,
Yeah.
so it was very expensive.
Are we opening ourselves up to another New Jersey situation if we do this?
There is that chance if we don't commit to purchasing off the state bid. The state bid allows you to purchase either 80% of your amount, 80 with the ability to go up to 120, or 100% to 120. We've been told that the less amount of risk that state bid vendor has, the better price. So in other words, we would receive a better price at the 100, 120 mark versus the 80, 120 mark. My recommendation would be that we fill the cupboards with 3,000 tons and we sign up with the state with 500 tons next year. And it's not going to go bad. If we need to purchase it, obviously we'll purchase it, but it gives us a little bit of extra room if we need it.
And the assumption, though, is that salt prices won't be going down.
That is the
Yeah.
assumption,
Okay.
yes.
And
Yes.
everyone seems to feel that's a valid assumption.
Okay. We have a recommendation.
Yeah, well, we need a motion to authorize the chairman of the Finance Committee and the chairman of the Public Works Committee to work with Michael in making a decision on behalf of the city council with respect to the state bid price by next Friday.
Correct.
So we're kind of kicking the can over to them.
You are. And
I so move.
I'll second.
Roll call vote, or is this a voice vote? Does it matter, Vic, if it's
I would make it roll call at this
roll call? Okay, we'll make a roll call vote, please.
Alderman Novit.
Aye.
Alderman Waldeck.
Aye.
Alderman Morsch.
Aye.
Alderman Schoenheider.
Aye.
Alderman Palmer.
Aye.
Alderman Adelman.
Aye.
6 yeas, no nays, motion carries.
Great.
Thank you, Bertie. Any other additional items for council discussion this evening?
Move to adjourn.
All in
Second.
favor?
Aye.
Meeting is adjourned, thank you.
Okay, we can go.